Hello and welcome to Quays News. I'm Afifa Raza.
And I'm Brooke Hennigan. Here's what's coming up on the programme today.
Students at the University of Salford are facing increased accommodation prices as a result of the cost of living crisis.
Everyone's favourite bear Pudsey is returning to Media City tonight for the children in need.
And football could be coming home. We will have coverage on the upcoming World Cup in Qatar. The country's economic difficulties the past few weeks has unfortunately left many individuals and families struggling to make ends meet.
Parents and families alike are now being faced with financial difficulty, which is expected to last for the unforeseeable future. People are now facing increased bills and rent prices. However, it is not just families who are now being impacted by the cost of living crisis.
Students at the University of Salford are struggling to find affordable accommodation following the announcement that their rent will also be increasing. Evie Rafferty is reporting more on how student accommodation prices are increasing.
Over the past decade, accommodation prices have risen through the roof, but next year has been said to make an even bigger impact on its students.
Accommodation prices have gone up by 4.4% from last year, which means they've gone up by a whopping 16% from before the pandemic.
Many students have longer contracts to others, which may lead to them having to pay a lump sum of more money on top of the original increase.
As a student nurse, because our terms are, we have 51-week academic years rather than the normal 40, we're here for 2 months longer. So there's never enough money to cover everything, as well with being a student nurse. We've got to pay for transport to hospitals, we've got to pay for uniforms, we've got to pay for reoccurring things that other students don't have to pay for. And the loans and stuff just aren't enough to cover rent.
The maintenance loan has struggled to match the rising cost of living, with just a 2.3% increase. With students barely affording their rent, families may be left with no option but to take them under their wing.
I didn't have regular work on the weekends. I'd have to get my mum and family involved to help me pay for it because it's so expensive.
Tramways, campus living villages and True all refuse to speak on this matter.
With this lack of communication and ever-rising prices, where will this leave our students?
Evie Rafferty, Quays News, Salford.
Tonight we'll see the return of BBC Children in Need, broadcasting live here from Salford.
The charity, which was set up in 1980, has supported over 500,000 children up and down the UK.
The annual show is returning to the Dock 10 studios at Media City UK for the second year running. Our reporter Callum Ewing has more on what we can expect tonight.
It's that time for you again where the fundraising is in full flow and the excitement of the charity extravaganza is building here at Media City as Children in Need returns to Salford for a second year running. The charity first started in 1980 will air at 7 p.m. on BBC One with returning presenters such as Chris Ramsey and Mel Gedrick, while Salford's own Jason Manfield will be presenting for the first time. Special segments from the show will include a special edition of The Weakest Link, a children's takeover of Blankety Blank, and UK's junior Eurovision entry Freya Sky performing her song live for the first time. Something else to keep an eye on, Ncuti Gatwa's new Doctor Who will have his companion revealed live on air. As always, it beckons to be something special.
The travel guide Lonely Planet has released its top 30 cities in the world to visit.
These 30 cities spanned across all corners of the globe, but the only city to rank from the UK was Manchester.
Which is unsurprising given the money invested into developing our city and its spaces. Places such as Deansgate Locks have been revamped into entertainment facilities, and Manchester's industrial heritage has been attracting people for many years.
Our reporter Ian Twesiger has more on this international achievement.
Manchester has been named as one of the top world destinations of 2023 according to Lonely Planet's top 30 prestigious list. This list also features New Mexico, Accra, Zambia and Jordan. Lonely Planet stated that, along with being an accessibility-friendly destination that's also doing a lot for sustainability, Manchester has some exciting things happening in 2023. Manchester was also named for this award in 2016 as times are looking bright for the Northern English city. The best places to visit in Manchester include Castlefield Viaduct, the reopening of the Manchester Museum, as well as the Factory International Art Space that is about to open, as well as behind me, the Imperial War Museum.
For many years now, people's focus has been on saving the environment. The increasing threat to our climate has now reached a crisis point.
Each year it is estimated that 30 million tonnes of litter is collected from our streets, costing around £1 billion to clear up.
However, one group in Salford has been aiming to help clear up our streets. Here's Ellie with more.
Over the past few years, litter in Salford has been on the incline, with many complaints made by local residents. All Salford Litter Heroes is a community group created on Facebook to help clean up the streets of Salford.
I actually picked it up off Facebook, Salford Litter Heroes. It was something I'd always fancied doing because I was aware other people were litter picking. So when I saw it on Facebook, I got in touch with the local organiser who gave me some equipment, and it went from there. It's twice I've been stopped whilst I've been litter picking, and I can remember there was a lady in a car once. She made a point of pulling over, saying, "Oh, I've seen somebody else doing what you're doing." So, "Who are you? What are you doing?" So I just explained it to her, and she was very keen to join.
Definitely seen a difference. There's not as much litter to pick up. It gets blown about in windy weather, so sometimes you find an accumulation in different areas, but it's mainly it's cut down on a lot. But we also, besides litter picking, we report any dumping of anything like fridges or furniture and that. And the main place I've found where they dump things is outside the Swinton police station, where there's a substation, and they actually dump it in that area. And once somebody's dumped one thing, sometimes it accumulates and they dump others. So as soon as I see anything, I photograph it.
The group also do community picks in areas which may have more rubbish to help come together and to meet like-minded people. As well as this, it is an easier way to join if you may feel nervous about starting on your own. To get in touch with the group, contact Lucy Renwick at salford.gov.uk, who is the Neighbourhood Development Officer, or join the All Salford Litter Heroes Facebook group. Ellie Johnstone, Quays News.
Now, onto the sport with Ewan.
For the first time since the inception of Football Club, now competition has paused midway through the season in order to make way for a Winter World Cup. In an unprecedented moment for football, this Sunday Qatar is set to host Ecuador in the opening game of this year's World Cup. The opening game of Group A is being held in the city of Alcohol and kicks off at 4 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time. However, the build-up to the World Cup hasn't been without controversy, with concerns around human rights violations, allegations of corruption, and Qatar's stance on LGBTQ+ people, among several topics being discussed. We sent our reporter FIFA out to the University of Salford campus to hear what LGBTQ+ person Francis had to say.
Yeah, I think they should be more tolerant towards the LGBTQ community. I think we're humans too, and I think it's a basic human right to accept us, to tolerate us, and I think prosecuting people, I don't think that's a good idea, because there's already bad publicity around Qatar holding the World Cup as it is.
Some interesting takes from Francis there. Now on to England, whose World Cup campaign begins with the first ever meeting with Iran. The game kicks off at 1 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time at the Khalifa International Stadium. England's squad is packed full of exciting youngsters like Phil Foden, Jude Bellingham and Bukayo Saka, who will all be looking to build on their impressive form for their respective clubs this season. More experienced players like Harry Kane, Jack Grealish and Raheem Sterling make up the core of the team, who Bet365 down as one of the 5 favourites alongside Brazil, Argentina, France and Spain. With semi-final and final exits at the last 2 major international tournaments, this time around England will be looking to go one better and bring home the prestigious World Cup. From one World Cup to another, England overcame Pakistan to win the Men's T20 Cricket World Cup in Melbourne, Australia. In a game of up and downs for England, it was Ben Stokes who showed up on the big stage, hitting an unbeaten 52. The win means that England are the first team to be champions of both 20 over and 50 over cricket. That's it from me, now back to the presenters.
And now for the weather from the World Cup weekend with Ellie.
Yes, so it's not quite Qatari weather here in Manchester, with rain and moderate showers expected throughout the day. However, a much brighter and sunnier day tomorrow, but kick-starting the week, Sunday, following through all the way to Monday, is expected to rain again. So any football fans expecting to go in a beer garden, I'd stay clear and head inside.
That's it for the weather and it for the programme.
Thank you for watching and goodbye.